Almost every third child in South Africa is sexually abused. Like this 9-year-old, this is the bed she was raped in by a neighbour. She found refuge in Thabisile Msezane's house. For years now, the 50-year-old has been taking in children off the streets. Today, she's got 56 young children and youths under her roof. All of them have been through traumatic experiences.
He is actually grabbing her around the neck and penetrating right into her. The men have become worse than animals, because I don't think every man that sleeps with children has AIDS, but it has just become an in thing that men just wants to experiment or exercise their power over helpless children, unfortunately.
Young children were taught earlier that they would have a better life than their parents. The centre's financed by overseas donations.
Yes.
Even when she's facing tough financial times, Thabisile keeps up her courage. The former teacher and trauma therapist isn't waiting for government support. Since the first democratic election 7 years ago, nothing has changed for the poorest of the poor. The unemployment rate is so high that in many black townships, only every 5th person has a job. Most of these children have been abused, not just by their fathers, relatives and neighbours, but also from men suffering from AIDS who believe that they can cure themselves by having sex with children.
He took me to the room and he slept with me.
And what did you feel?
I felt so bad, and the next day I was sick. I couldn't go to the doctor because our clinic is very far.
Every Friday, maybe when they are drunk in the farms, they can sleep with the small girls. Some of the small girls that I know are pregnant now. Some of them are mothers.
According to the government, 15,680 children were abused in the first 9 months of last year. The unofficial count is much higher, and only every 10th rapist ends up behind bars.
Like I said, that more than 3/4 of our children have been abused, either within the families, within the community where they lived. They've been abused sexually, emotionally, physically, and otherwise, and psychologically.
The children never forget their trauma. In rural areas, the rape rate is particularly high. Most of the farm workers get the same low pay as they did during the apartheid era, around €40 a month. Too much to die and too little to live. Thabisile is visiting a family here whose daughter found refuge with her. The baby is 3 months old. 6 family members live and sleep in this room.
She has 5 kids. Her elder daughter is 14. She lives with us. She was abused twice as a young girl, and according to the child, possibly living here at home, it has happened. And with 5 kids, the husband earning 200 rand per fortnight, and as you can see, that pocket of milk, she's going to cook the soft porridge for the child.
Dr. Howard de Fonseca has been working for the last decade as a pediatric surgeon at the biggest hospital in the world, the Chris Hani Hospital in Soweto.
and AIDS, as you know, South Africa is one of the most severely affected. And because of that, we have this increase in child abuse. But as you probably know, and this has been actually widely told in the press, that there is this belief that having sex with a virgin renders people immunized against the AIDS disease.
91% of child rape victims knew their abusers. 20% are raped by their own fathers.
We have been seeing tremendous, horrendous cases of sexual abuse, with disruption of the vagina, disruption of the anus, the musculature of the pelvis, completely disrupted, rendering these patients incontinent for life sometimes.
When she was 13, this girl was raped at a bus station. Despite being caught, her rapist bribed the police and was soon set free.
So he took me and he told me, kiss me. So I told him I can't kiss. You know, I'm too young, I was making stupid. And so he smacked me again, and that's just when it happened. He just told me, lie down, and I didn't want to listen, so he smacked me again.
Tonight, this rapist is going to be arrested again in Soweto. The police unit against child abuse is out looking for rapists and abusers almost every night. In the tangle of shacks, it's difficult to find anyone. During daylight, it's almost impossible to arrest someone. At night, there's always the danger of being shot at. A new law in South Africa can put rapists of children behind bars for life. At least, that's what the law says on paper. But most are set free after a short space of time. The main reason is the non-functioning justice system and overflowing prisons. Andre Neethling has been leading the department for 2 years. Just a few weeks after taking up his job, he had to put 2 of his 20 or so detectives behind bars because of corruption. He takes the stories of rape victims to heart.
I think the case that personally will always stay with me is the 5-month-old baby that was raped. And I think purely for the matter of it was fine until I saw the baby and I saw how small she actually is. And I just had this terrible visions of somebody trying to have sex with such a small little baby.
I'm going to sit here.
The camera is hidden behind one-way mirrors. The 4-year-old describes what happened.
David put his bullet inside there. Shoshada, where? Inside where? What do you call that?
Bullet.
He put the bullet where?
Inside the cuckoo.
Inside the cuckoo. He put the bullet inside the cuckoo.
What is this?
To prepare children for court, they're going to the teddy bear clinic for role play.
How do you plead, Mr. Wolf?
Not guilty.
You say?
To tell the truth.
To tell the truth.
You say?
3,000 rape victims have been treated here.
Order in the court!
This 21-year-old and his 4 drinking mates raped a young girl. The men surprised her on her way back home, which is often the case. The young woman knew the accused and called the police.
Because they just bribed the lady with the money and then he just dropped the case. Yeah, and then that's it. Then we stayed at 4 months and then we come out.
The lady you raped or the mother was bribed? Or who was bribed for whom?
Both.
This girl was also the victim of a rape. She's now living in Thabisile's house and can only make short visits to her home. The 9-year-old was raped by a neighbour. He's still running free.
He's out moving around, probably committing more crimes, similar crimes, because, the police in charge of the child protection in this area, is the one that was bribed and by the family, and he got out.
The mother, as a child, was raped by 3 men. She knows she can't protect her daughter from the same crime. The victims are powerless. All they get is pain. Help is nowhere in sight.